Well, all right, my friends, let's get started with the drug trap. David Parsons here. How are you? I wonder, are you under the influence of any drugs right now? What do we even call drugs, really? I started thinking about doing this series earlier this year, and I wanted to do a typical kind of nostalgia trap thing, which is combine elements of memoir, autobiography, telling my own life story, and connecting it to some larger political and historical ideas. And that's something I don't like to do just for my own sake. In other words, just to tell my own story. I love memoir. I love hearing other people's stories. That's why I asked, what drugs are you under the influence of right now? And it could be food. And I started thinking about doing these episodes in part because I interviewed Zach Froelich earlier this year, actually just a few weeks ago, about Maha Moms, Make America Healthy Again. And he made a point about food being medicine or food being a drug. And in the United States in particular, people relating to food in a very drug-like way, particularly when you think about sugar and fat, and those things being really highly toxic bits of the way that we medicate ourselves all the time. And, I don't know if I'll do a specific food episode. I wanted to talk about a bunch of drugs that we might call illicit drugs. Today I want to think about opiates and pills. But food is in there, right? Like, food is, to me, one of the dominant American drug addictions. And you can see that in the way that people are obese in this country and all the health problems we have. But it's also like, I don't know, I think I want to have a sort of empathetic view of this as well. Not just about, like, the toxicity and what people are doing to fuck themselves up, but sort of understanding that, and this is, I guess, through my own experience, that people put things in their body in order to deal with the pain of being alive. It's the Hunter S. Thompson quote, right? It starts Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, something about a man turns himself into a beast to get rid of the pain of being a man. I didn't get that quote exactly right, but you know what I mean. There is, to me, a way of trying to understand why people need to fuck themselves up. And I've always had a lot of feeling, intense feeling for people that get stuck in food, in cigarettes, in alcohol, in drugs, in whatever we want to call that visceral sort of medication that we give ourselves in order to just deal with being alive, and how that twists our larger social, cultural, and political sort of reality. That's important to me. That's something that explains a lot, actually. I'm sitting here looking at this poster that's been on my wall for many years, the Youth International Party Manifesto. It's a big marijuana leaf that hangs over Nostalgia Trap, which I guess is appropriate, and that will make more sense as we get into these drug trap episodes and I talk about my own drug experiences. But that's a poster from the 1960s. It's a moment where there was actually an explicit connection between drug culture and politics, and the idea that drugs could somehow catalyze a political movement. Now, a lot of people look back on that, and I include myself, as a sort of naive thing. And in fact, this Youth International Party Manifesto that I'm looking at right now has a lot of really naive ideas on it. It's that tune in, turn on, drop out thing. The idea that we could all smoke weed and drop acid, and that will be enough to get us together and decondition our minds from the prison of capitalist thinking. I think that, that's gone out the door, especially when I think of just a couple blocks from my house here in Ventura, California, there is this like incredible weed dispensary that is capitalism to its core. And I think we've found that even with MAGA and Make America Healthy Again and the sort of like Trump people, there are a lot of stoned Trump people. Like, weed does not decondition you to the values of capitalism, I'm sorry to say. And I don't think psychedelics do that either. And there's a view of this that says it's kind of the opposite, actually.